Even as one of the richest men alive, he continued this practice, writing down donations, investments, and expenses with meticulous care before quietly delivering his decision, a decision that was almost always final. Rivals called him cold, calculating, even sinister. John D. Rockefeller. The name alone carries weight. The Oil King, the richest American in history. A man who built an empire so vast that his personal fortune reshaped capitalism itself. But behind the empire, behind the billions, behind the legend, was a man with daily habits, simple routines, rituals of discipline and control. Habits that, brick by brick, built the foundation of power. Tonight, we step inside the life of John D. Rockefeller to see how one man's daily choices created a dynasty, to discover the secrets of a life lived with precision, and to ask, what lessons remain for us today? Close your eyes and imagine America in the mid-1800s, a country still young, restless, and raw. Railroads cut across vast plains. Immigrants poured into crowded cities. Factories belched smoke into the sky. And in the state of Ohio, a boy named John Davidson Rockefeller was coming of age. Born in 1839, Rockefeller grew up in modest circumstances. His father was a traveling salesman, often absent, sometimes reckless. His mother, devout and disciplined, instilled in young John two guiding values: work hard, save money. By his teenage years, Rockefeller was already keeping careful ledgers of every penny he earned and spent. While other boys played, he calculated compound interest in his notebook. The seeds of empire were being planted, not in oil fields, not in boardrooms, but in habits. So what were these habits? What did Rockefeller do, day after day, that allowed him to rise from an ordinary bookkeeper to the world's first billionaire? The first was discipline. Rockefeller believed in order. He woke early, worked methodically, and recorded everything. From his youth, he kept a ledger called Ledger A, tracking every cent. Even as one of the richest men alive, he continued this practice, writing down donations, investments, and expenses with meticulous care. To him, wealth was not luck. It was the result of attention, detail, and restraint. The second habit was patience. Rockefeller once said, "Do you know the only thing that gives me pleasure? It's to see my dividends coming in." He was not dazzled by quick profits. He invested for the long term. In oil, he bought rivals not in haste, but with careful strategy. When others gambled on speculation, he quietly built pipelines, refineries, and distribution networks. He moved slowly, but relentlessly, until Standard Oil controlled nearly 90% of America's oil industry. The third was health. Rockefeller believed that without the body, the mind could not rule. He took long walks daily, even in old age. He played golf obsessively, often boasting that his stamina exceeded men decades younger. He followed a strict diet, simple, measured, sometimes bland. While industrial America burned itself out in smoke and excess, Rockefeller preserved his strength like a general preparing for a lifetime campaign. The fourth was faith. A devout Baptist, Rockefeller tithed 10% of his income to the church from the time he earned his first wages. He prayed daily, attended services, and saw wealth not only as privilege, but as stewardship. To him, money was a tool entrusted by God, meant to be multiplied wisely and given generously. Even in his ruthlessness as a businessman, this thread of faith wove through his life. The fifth habit was secrecy. Rockefeller rarely revealed his emotions. He trained himself to remain calm, even in crisis. In meetings, he often sat silently, letting others argue and exhaust themselves, before quietly delivering his decision, a decision that was almost always final. Rivals called him cold, calculating, even sinister. Admirers saw in him the perfect businessman, unshaken, unreadable, unstoppable. But perhaps his greatest habit was generosity. As his wealth grew, Rockefeller turned increasingly to philanthropy. He founded the University of Chicago. He created foundations that eradicated hookworm, funded medical research, and transformed public health. Over his lifetime, he gave away more than $500 million, a staggering sum in his era. He once said, "I believe the power to make money is a gift from God, and it should be used for the good of mankind." Yet this generosity was built on the same habits of discipline, order, and control. Rockefeller gave strategically, not impulsively. He studied where his money would have the greatest impact. Just as he once consolidated oil refineries, he now consolidated charities, demanding efficiency, accountability, and measurable results. To him, even philanthropy was business. Still, Rockefeller was not without critics. His empire was forged in monopoly. Standard Oil crushed rivals, bullied railroads, and manipulated markets. Journalists branded him a robber baron. Courts eventually broke up his company. But even then, his habits prevailed. The fragments of Standard Oil became Exxon, Chevron, Mobil, giants that still dominate today. And Rockefeller's fortune, carefully managed, continued to multiply. So let us return to the question: how did Rockefeller become Rockefeller? It was not by chance, nor by brilliance alone. It was by the quiet power of habit. The daily ledger, the morning walk, the calm silence in the boardroom, the prayer at night, the careful reinvestment of every dividend, the patience to build, and the discipline never to stop. By the time he died in 1937, at the age of 97, Rockefeller had lived nearly a century of control. He had outlasted presidents, tycoons, and empires. He had become a symbol of both the best and worst of capitalism. To some, he was the ruthless monopolist. To others, the generous philanthropist. But to all, he was power incarnate. And his habits, those small, daily rituals, were the invisible empire behind the visible one. The story of John D. Rockefeller's daily habits is not just history. It is a reminder that greatness is not built in moments of brilliance, but in the discipline of every day. That wealth is not merely earned, but managed, guarded, and directed. And that the true foundation of power is routine. John D. Rockefeller, the oil king, the richest American. A man of empires and legacies, a tale of power, a tale of fortune, and a lesson for all of history. You've been watching Wealth Untold, where the hidden stories of money, empires, and fortune come alive. If you enjoyed this journey into the disciplined life of Rockefeller, don't forget to follow, share, and stay tuned. Tomorrow, we uncover another chapter of history's greatest fortunes. and misfortunes.